David Bailey is Professor of Business Economics at the Birmingham Business School, joins us now. Hello, I guess if you want a challenge, heading up an auto company right now might be the thing to do. But why are we seeing a higher turnover in this sector, higher than in others actually?
Well, I think you nailed it just then. It's a perfect storm. The industry is making a transition to electric vehicles. That's costing a lot of money. Take-up of EVs is slower than anticipated. Slow growth in markets in Europe. Western firms have really been competed out of China, and you've got the emergence of Chinese brands onto the global stage. Put all that together, profits are getting squeezed, shareholders aren't very happy, and CEOs aren't lasting very long. It's a bit like a Premiership football club manager. They don't get very long in the job these days.
I mean, it's a tough gig. But do you need an automotive expert in the top job, or actually a change management specialist?
Well, that's a very good question. That could change over time. I think you need an understanding of the span of the production activity and also the fact that the industry is undergoing transformation. What we're seeing essentially are multiple transformations in the industry, both towards electric cars, but longer term towards autonomous vehicles as well, and the shift from, say, you and me buying a car to mobility as a service. So you're absolutely right on the ability to understand change, but you also need to be able to understand the complexity of the automotive business.
Stellantis took 6 months, I think, to name a successor. Is there also a problem of talent in the automotive industry, or is it more about actually just finding the right leader who's prepared to do a very tough job right now?
I think it's a tough gig, as you said. I think in the Stellantis case, they had a particular strategy under Tavares. He was going to go at the back end of this year, but went early, so he kind of surprised the board. But in part, that was about him losing the confidence of the board, given all of the challenges that the company faced. And essentially, they didn't think the strategy in place was enough to make a successful transition. Effectively, I think their view was he'd become a kind of one-trick pony of cost-cutting, and that wasn't enough to put in place a strategy that could ultimately compete with the Chinese. So they had to speed up the whole process of finding a replacement for him, and went with somebody who's the boss of their American business, which could be pretty important in dealing with President Trump.
Yeah, and I mean, I would imagine that goals and strategy could change all the time because realities change all the time with these tariffs. What is your best advice for leaders of any company in these turbulent times?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think ultimately it's to focus on their core strategy, whatever that is. And if we think, for example, about car companies that have got it wrong, it's when they haven't followed that core strategy. In the case of Toyota, they ran into big problems when they no longer focused on quality. Often car companies really try and compete for market share and to be the top player, and they take their eye off the customer. So what is it the customer ultimately wants in the future as we transition into electric cars and mobility as a service, and think about how you solve those problems and those challenges? Increasingly, car companies can't do it on their own, and they have to collaborate as well.
Yeah, so you need some real agile thinking. But also, the role of a leader is to guide their teams. Surely it must be a time of low morale when we're seeing layoffs, where people are uncertain about what's going to happen within a day or two, within a week or two. What are the challenges for leadership around staff morale and keeping the team together?
That's a really good point, and I think in the kind of the extreme case of that, we've seen the challenges at Tesla, which has always had very rapid turnover, but in recent times, because of the whole controversy over Musk and his role in government, a downturn in sales. So that's a kind of really acute example. That means identifying where the company wants to go, giving people a kind of responsibility for their actions and their ability to take part in a strategy, but also it's keeping a very, very lean management structure so that the company can be as agile and flexible as possible going forwards. And, I think one of the problems for many car companies is if they're very, very hierarchical, they can't respond quickly to changes in direction.
All right, thank you so much. Great to chat to you, David Bailey, Professor of Business Economics at the Birmingham Business School.